So, you came to class prepared, having read chapter 1 of Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Anybody have any quick thoughts on that? Yeah.
I'm gonna say I kind of liked how her friend Daisy, right?
Okay.
Aza's friend Daisy. I feel like she kind of just does her own thing, and that I feel like they're both kind of like don't care about what everyone else thinks, and like Daisy's kind of like in her not Daisy. Aza's in like her own world, and then like Daisy kind of like tells her what to do, but like in a friendly manner.
I like that. Yeah, Sean.
I like how Aza kind of like really describes how extreme these symptoms of anxiety are, and how she talks about different coping mechanisms before like going to a doctor and figuring them out, and like what are actual good coping mechanisms.
That's great. Yeah.
And I like how they incorporate the spiral and saying like how her anxiety like only gets like worse because it gets tighter and tighter at the bottom.
It's a great visual, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's only chapter 1, and already we've learned a lot about Aza. Like you said, her anxiety, her spiraling. We've learned about Aza and Daisy's relationship, and we're just at the beginning, right? So what I'm going to talk about a little bit today is a way to deepen your comprehension. So since you were little, you have been reading texts, fiction like this one, nonfiction, your textbooks, and you've been asked questions about them, okay? You've probably talked a lot about thinking critically in school, right? So you start with simple questions, things that are very easy to answer. And then as time goes by in every grade, and especially as you get older and you get into college, you'll see, like we've talked about with the SAT, the questions become more complex. They're not just there, right? So there's something called the QAR method. And the QAR method, I didn't make it up, but it's something that researchers figured out and they recommend. It's an acronym. Remember acronyms from 2nd grade, right? Mm-hmm. So question, answer, relationships. So this is a concept basically that helps you figure out when you're asked questions about a text, where to find the answers, okay? So I'm going to show you, we're going to just do something real quick. I'm going to show you, it's really 4 quadrants, okay, of QAR. When you're asked a question following reading something, it tells you, QAR says, you can either find the answers in the book or in your head. Very simple, right? So my answer's in the book or my answer's in my head. Now, they take it down and they break it further. In the book, they say it's either right there, where you can actually just point to the answer in the book, and we know from the SAT prep, we can do that sometimes, right? Or I might think and search, meaning it's in the book, but maybe I have to pull together a couple pieces from the book and pull it together, right? We've answered questions.
Applying the thinking.
Exactly. But still pulling it from the book. Now, more what you're saying is in my head. When I need to apply the thinking more, it's either on my own or author and me. On my own means they're asking me for my experience. I don't even need to look in the book. It might be talking about the book, but then I need to use my background knowledge and give some kind of example about me. Author and me is when they ask something like, this just happened in the book, and now can you predict what may happen in the book? So what I've done here, I know I just went over it really quickly, I gave a couple examples here. So let's just take a quick look at these, and then we'll move on. So if the answer's right there, the question might start with something like, what did this character do? Or who did that? Or give one example from the book when this happens. You recognize those. So easy to figure out, right? You just, if you've read it, it's easy to find it in there. Think and search is like, how many times does this person do this in the book? Can you think of times like that where you might have to pull out different parts in the book? Compare this character to this character, where you'd have to look in different parts of the book, but in looking in the book, you'd find the answer. Do I need my own background information for that? No. So this is all that's in there. If I search, I'll find it. One thing, probably more than one concept. But here's where we always get a little more complex, right? This is where we spend most of our time in high school and in college, and definitely on the SAT. On my own, I've read the text already, and then they want me to use my background knowledge and what I know and my experience to answer the question. So, have you ever felt like da da da, and if so, what happened? Right? I don't need to look back at the book. I'm talking about my own experience. How do you feel about this? Do you recognize, have you had questions like this in school before? Definitely, right? Author in me is the other part that comes out of just finding the answer in your head. What do you predict? And that might mean now you need to pull out something the author said, but then predict from your own head, right? Pick a character and compare her to somebody else, or how would you get along with this character? So I'm always referring back to the text, sort of, but here aren't these deeper level questions. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple questions, and I want you to tell me where you think they belong. Now I've made a blank section. So let's see if we can recall this really quickly first now that it's blank. So in the book, it's separated into what? Right there. Now what's right there mean us?
I'm just like right in the book.
Right in the book, I can find it. How about Aaron, think and search?
Like it's like somewhere in the text, but you're gonna have to like go search for it.
Exactly, a couple different places. Maybe you have to
Yeah.
synthesize a couple different pieces of information. Exactly right. All right, Sean, now we're in your head. Again, higher, even though it's lower on the chart, it's a higher level thinking, right? So Sean, on my own,
It's like they kind of ask you, what do you think about this?
what do you think? Absolutely right. And then anyone or everyone, author and me is what?
So like compare yourself to another character.
Perfect. So here's a little bit from the text, what the author wrote, but you need to add your part to it. All right, so let's do a couple. So which of the characters are you most like? What would you pick? What do you think?
Author and me.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you? You have to know the character from the book, and now you're going to relate your own experience to it. Okay, how about this one? Define, of course I'm pulling these from the book you guys read. Define how Aza feels about her gut and her stomach.
I feel like that'd be either right there or in the think and search.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those two.
It's definitely in the book.
Yeah, so here, define how Aza feels about her gut. Really could be anything. If you
Because
use,
there's a lot of times when she's talking about it.
so which one do you think then?
That's the think and search.
I think you're right. There's not just one example when she talks about it, it's multiple times. Excellent. How about pick a character at the lunch table and compare him or her to a friend of yours?
Author and me.
Why do you think so?
Because it's telling the author's saying that like you have to compare a friend of yours, and it's the author who has the fictional character.
Perfectly said. Yes, absolutely. Wonderfully said. The author created the character, so of course it's the author, but you're going to relate to that character. Who is the main character?
It's right there.
I know, that's the question. Which one would it be? If that's my question, who's the main character?
Asa. Yeah,
Right,
but-
well, which one?
Oh.
Right there.
Right there, right? It's.
Could it
Oh,
also,
I'm sorry. Did you say it's right there? I
could it also be
I
thinking
thought you were
search?
saying Aza's name was already up
Could it
there.
also be thinking search because like she's like mentioned multiple times.
You know what? It's not different concepts though, right? It's like if I find it once, it's there and I'm
Yeah.
done. Make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent. That's so funny. All right, so here are a few more questions. So since there's 3 of you, I want you to look at them and find one that you think you know where it goes. So read them all. And then when you know where it goes, I'll just give you a second. You'll read it out loud and then come place it, and your friends will tell you if they agree or not.
Should we pick 2 or?
No, just pick one. Just pick one. All right, so who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, Aaron, what does yours say?
Mine says,
So you guys listen.
how does the author show us Aza's anxiety?
How does the author show us Aza's
I
anxiety?
think it would be like think and search because the author like kind of like writes like different ways. about
Excellent.
That's
anxiety.
one more answer.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You
I
agree?
with that.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. All right, who wants to go next? What do you have, Austin?
Mine says, what is a biome? And I feel like that's right there.
And why do you think so?
Because it kind of just straight up says it once, like what a biome is.
Perfect. You guys agree?
I agree.
You do? Okay, thank you. And then how about you, Sean? What's your question?
So just have you ever felt like Asa in the cafeteria?
Okay.
I think that would be all for me.
Okay. And why?
Because it's comparing yourself to the character that the author is.
Okay, what do you guys think?
I think that could be kind of on my own too.
It could be, right? There is kind of like an overlap here.
Yeah.
Do you need to refer to anything for it, or can you just start talking about your own experience?
I
You
can
can do both.
Oh yeah.
But what would you do if you were answering it?
I'll talk about it.
Oh yeah, talk about
Right? So
this.
if you're not wrong, almost everything starts with the book, right? So it kind of feels weird saying on my own. But I think you may be right, because if I can just start talking about my own experience, maybe it belongs more on my own. But the point of all of this is, even if you don't know exactly what it is, you know that it's a higher level question. Okay? So the last thing I want you to do is, since there's just 3 of you guys today, I gave you each Post-its. I want you to come up with a question about the first chapter, or 2, 1 or 2, let's say. And then you're going to read it, and the other 2 are going to try to figure out where it goes in this QAR.
Alright.
Okay? So just take a second and do that. Just create one, actually. We'll just start with 1.
So we can create one from any of these sections?
You can create one in any of these sections about the chapter 1.
Okay.
And then we'll all try to guess where it belongs. And try to make it different from any that are up there. Yeah, I already did that. If it helps, let me do this. I did actually meant to have this here. Look, this might help you start your questions. Sean and Aaron, you see this here?
Yeah.
If you're not sure, this could serve as a guide of how to start your question. I know it's a little tough sometimes to come up with questions. Teachers have a hard time coming up with questions.
Do you want us to make 2 or just
Just make one. On the back, put where you think it belongs. Either right there, RT, TS, OMO, or AME. I know we just learned this and it's kind of a big concept, so I'm pushing you guys fast to learn it, but I actually think us learning how to find and where to find the answers will be great help for any kind of reading that you're doing, and also your SAT prep. I mean, how many times have we been going through the SAT thing and we have to look back? Is it in there, or do we have to pull together a few ideas to find it, right? A lot of times, right? A lot of times. Okay, so who would like to stand up and go first? Okay, Sean, come on up. So Sean, read your question. We'll go back to this. Can I flip back to this?
Yep.
Okay, up, flip back to this. And then you guys tell Sean where to put his question. Okay.
How does Daisy stand out at the lunch table?
I'd say think and search,
Why do you think so?
because there's multiple situations where you can have it, like when she's talking about going to watch Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and then when she's talking to what's his name, Dylan? Or
Michael?
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
When she's talking to Michael, like she you know, she kind of shows authority when she's talking to him, and then when she's like brought up about her hair, like it's just all different times at different parts of the book where it shows that she's like brave and kind of just does her own thing.
So you feel like it's not just one spot, it's in a bunch of different sections. Aaron, what do you think?
I also think they can search too. Well, I know because it's definitely in the book, but
Okay.
like it's not like one of those like right there where they, well,
Like a
they-
definition.
Yeah, definition.
Yeah.
They like do kind of say it multiple times.
Perfect. What do you think?
Well, I kind of went with like the thought process of like anyone can really act a certain way one time.
Okay.
So I'd like to see how they act like
Multiple times.
multiple times.
Okay.
Or I
So
say,
do you agree with your peeps?
yeah, I agree.
Okay, excellent. Give him a hand. All right, thank you, Sean. Who would like to go next?
Oh.
Okay,
Alright.
Austin, tell them the question, and then they're gonna tell you what they think. Sorry.
I said, when in life have you personally suffered?
I would definitely think that's author and me, or
Go ahead, Sean.
It
Add
is
in. Yeah,
On
okay.
my own.
What do you think? You got two different
I
answers.
think I maybe like mixed them up. but,
So
like,
on my own is, I just answer it based on my own experience. And author in me is like, I need to sort of refer back to something that happened in the book and then use my experience.
yeah, then I would definitely think it's on my own because it's not really asking about like any of the characters in the book. It's just like your own experience and like. yeah.
Okay, so 2 on my own, what do you think?
I said that as well.
All right, give him a hand. Very good job, guys. I guess you should